Alright, so the other day I found this TikTok where this guy's trying to script a door, and you can see that the door is literally falling down. And the caption is, "Scripting is way too hard, man," and the door is just falling down as he's trying to get it to open. Now, if that's something you are legitimately struggling with, don't worry, because in this video I'm going to teach you how to make a proper functioning door that does not go down when you click on it. Alright, so there's many ways to do it, but I'm going to show you the way that I would do it. So let's start by creating a part, and let's actually turn it into a door. So I'm just going to resize it here. And let's look for a nice brown color. So here we go. And then let me change the material to something that looks like a door. Okay, so here we go. I have my wooden door right here. I'm actually going to make this a little bit thinner. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to need is something called a hinge. So a hinge is basically going to be another part. So I'm going to add another part here, and I'm going to resize this part so that it becomes a hinge. And what it's going to look like is it's going to look like this. So you can think of a hinge as, like, you know, that thing that doors have all the way on the side? That thing is called a hinge. So this thing right here is called a hinge. And the purpose of this hinge is to provide an axis for this door to rotate around. So right now, if you take this door and you rotate it, it rotates like this. And this is where a lot of people are going to get stuck. They're going to be like, huh, I know how to make this thing rotate, but this isn't how I want my door to rotate, right? So that's where this hinge is going to come into play. We don't want the door to rotate like this. We want the door to rotate around this hinge like a proper door. And so I'm going to actually take this hinge, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and I'm also going to make it a little bit skinnier, and then I'm going to try to lodge this right over here. Okay, so now here is the actual hinge, and I'm actually going to make this, actually let's do this. I'm going to take the part, which is the door, I'm going to rename it to door. I'm going to take the hinge and I'm going to group it by pressing Ctrl G. And that's going to turn it into a model, and I'm going to call that model door. So now door is this entire thing right here. I've taken the actual door, which is this wooden part, and the hinge, and I've literally smushed them together, and I've created this model called door. Now, once again, if you try to rotate this door, it's not going to behave like a proper door. We want this part, we want this wooden part to rotate around this hinge right here. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to use something called a pivot. So we're going to go under the model tab, we're going to click on edit pivot. So this right here, it defines an axis. So this is basically like the axis at which the door is going to rotate around. And I'm going to take this pivot and I'm going to move it all the way over here. So now I've told Roblox, okay, I want the axis of rotation to be right over here where this hinge is. And now what this is going to do is if I go back into model, if I get rid of this edit pivot, so now I'm rotating normally. If I click the door and I use this green thing, look, it behaves like a door now. Now I can push it, and this is the way that doors should behave. So now this is going to make our job a whole lot easier. This whole axis thing, this whole pivot thing, this thing's going to make our job a lot easier, and now we're ready to make our door actually work. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this axis, I'm going to make this hinge invisible. So I've set the transparency to 1, and now you can't even tell the hinge is there. If you're a player, all you can see is that the door can open and it can close. Alright, so you can add all the bells and whistles in if you want, like a doorknob and whatever you want for your door. But for this video, I'm going to keep it really, really simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the door. So this is the wooden part. Remember, we have the wooden part and we have the invisible hinge. I'm going to click on this plus button and I'm going to add a proximity prompt. This thing right here is an object that Roblox provides us with to detect when a player presses E. So if a player, here, let me actually just show it to you. If you click this play button and then once you're in testing, if you get close to it, you can see this E interact thing. This is called a proximity prompt. And what this is going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to basically press E. And then when we press E, we're going to tell Roblox to open the door for us. So that's what we're going to do. And I just realized that this door is a little bit too small. So let me actually make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to take the entire model. I'm going to scale it and I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger just because I want a bigger door. And once again, I'm here. Okay, here's the door. And if I press E, we're going to code it. So right now it's not going to do anything. But once we're done, when I press E, this thing is going to actually revolve. It's going to rotate about that hinge. So basically now what we have to do is we have to tell Roblox, when I press E, I want this door to do this. And then when I press E again, I want this door to do this. So hopefully that makes sense, right? So now what we have to do, what we're actually going to do is we're going to detect when the player presses E, because that's going to be the first thing. And actually, let me actually start by changing this on the proximity prompt. You see how it says interact here? I'm going to actually make it say open. So now when you get close to the door, it's not going to say interact, it's going to say open. All right, so now let's detect when the player presses E. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a script onto server script service, just like that. And now let's actually start coding. So we know that this door right here, is a model inside of workspace. So let's start there. So we have to tell Roblox. So remember, when we're scripting, we are telling Roblox stuff. We need to tell Roblox, okay, this door, local door, is going to be equal to the door that is inside of workspace. So we've told Roblox, let door be equal to the door that's inside of workspace. So here's the door, and here's workspace. The door is inside of workspace. Okay. Now, what we need to do is we need to also tell Roblox where the proximity prompt is. So remember that this door is equal to this model called door. Now we need to tell Roblox, oh, inside of that model called door, there's another thing called door. And then inside of that other thing called door, there's a proximity prompt. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to say local proximity prompt equals door dot proximity prompt. Once again, door is this model. Door dot door is this thing. And then inside of this, there's something called proximity prompt, which is this thing right here. And we've told Roblox, okay, let proximity prompt be equal to that thing. Next thing, we need to detect when a player presses E or interacts with this proximity prompt. So proximity prompt dot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use, I think it's triggered. Yep. So proximity prompt dot triggered and then connect. So we're telling Roblox, okay. So over here, we're telling Roblox, okay, when this proximity prompt is triggered, I want you to do whatever is in between this function and this end. So anything in here in line 5, Roblox will do as soon as anything triggers this proximity prompt. So just to show you how it works, print, whoops, print triggered. And also guys, if you like the video so far, please make sure to like and subscribe. It helps me grow on YouTube. So now, here I am. I'm going to press E and boom, it says triggered. I'm going to click this. It says triggered. So as you can see, as long as I'm near this thing and I click E on my keyboard or I click on it. So if I press E on my keyboard or I click on it, it says triggered. And the more I click on this, the more triggered is getting printed. And if I actually click this arrow, you can see all the times that Roblox is printing triggered. If I just keep on spamming this, you can see, oh, triggered, 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 triggered. My output is now triggered. Okay, now what is next? Now, if you've been trying to script for a long time and you just want to be able to script without tutorials, like you want to have the ability to basically open up a script and just script like straight from your mind, then you might be interested in this Beginner's Guide to Roblox Scripting book, which will basically teach you how to do that. It will basically give you a bunch of code and then explain what that code does. And it will teach you scripting from chapter 1 all the way through chapter 10. And there's vocabulary lists, quizzes, explanations like this one. And like literally it's 280 pages. And you will be able to learn to script, and you'll be able to script on your own without help after you read the book and you go through all the exercises. Now, if that's something you'd be interested in, then make sure to check the link in the description or just watch this video right here. And with that, let's resume the video. Okay, so we've told Roblox, okay, this thing has been triggered. Now we need to tell Roblox, okay, I want to open the door now. So print, I want to open the door now. So we need to tell Roblox this. We need to, and basically what we need to do is we need to tell Roblox specifically. Roblox doesn't understand what open the door means. Roblox doesn't understand what open the door means, right? We need to tell Roblox, oh, opening the door means you take this giant model thing and you rotate it like this. That's what opening the door means. And what does close mean? That means you take it in this current position and then you revert it back to this state right here. So that's basically what we need to tell Roblox. We need to tell Roblox, when I say open the door, I mean I want you to do this, I want you to take this thing and I want you to shove it like this. And then when I tell you to close the door, I want you to take this open door and I want you to basically pull it back like this. So that's what we need to tell Roblox inside of here. Okay, so hopefully that made sense, right? So now let's actually look at what this is going to look like. So if I click this door, and remember that I have this green thing that I can drag to simulate opening the door and closing it. So what we need to do is we need to look at the orientation. So remember orientation. So this right here, this is called orientation. And this orientation is basically, it's three numbers that basically tell you how this object is rotated in the 3D space. So if I drag this thing, look at what happens to that middle number right there. See that middle number? Look at what happens. As I'm dragging it, something is happening to that middle number. It is decreasing. It's increasing. It's a negative number that's getting smaller, so it's increasing. So as I drag it this way, I'm getting shoved. That middle number is increasing. So that's basically what we need to do. We need to tell Roblox, okay, when you open that door, I want you to increase that middle number so that it looks like this. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, so you guys know that we have to be really, really specific when we're telling Roblox stuff because we're scripting. So here's what we need to do. We need to tell Roblox, I want to open the door, but Roblox doesn't understand what open the door means. So in other words, we're going to tell Roblox, okay, Roblox, since you don't understand what open the door means, I'm going to explain it to you. Open the door means that I want to rotate this thing 90 degrees. So see that number right there? See that 50? This right here, okay, let me actually give you a brief intro on degrees. So degrees are basically a unit of measurement that tells you how far an object has rotated. So when I drag this a little bit like this is 19 degrees. So this is what 19 degrees looks like. And then when I drag it a little bit more, this is 41 degrees. And then when I drag it a little bit more, that's 68 degrees. And when I drag it, and when I keep on dragging this thing, you see right there, that's the 90 degree mark. And this right here, that right there, from here all the way to here is going to mean that the door is open. So we need to tell Roblox, okay, I want you to rotate this thing 90 degrees like this, just like that. So this is the definition of closed, and this is the definition of open. So that's basically what we need to tell Roblox. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to use door pivot to. So this right here, pivot to, this basically tells Roblox, okay, this model called door, I want to rotate it or move it or both. So door pivot to, this basically means I want to rotate / move the door. That's what this pivot to does. Now, how far do we want to rotate it? Well, we want to rotate this 90 degrees because 90 degrees means it's open and 0 degrees means that it's closed. So we need to tell Roblox inside of these two parentheses, we need to tell Roblox, okay, I want to rotate the door. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to say door get pivot times cframe.angle 0 math.rad 90 and then comma 0. So what in the world does all of this mean? Let me break it down for you. Door pivot to, I want to move and rotate the door. That's what that means. Door get pivot. This means get the current position and rotation of this door. Times cframe.angles 0 math.rad 90 0. So what is this part right here? Okay, so basically, remember how there's three numbers for orientation? There is the first number, and there's the second number and the third number. When I move this green thing, I am changing that second number. Remember, see the second number right here? It's changing whenever I move this thing. That means that we only want to change this second number. We don't want to change this 0 and we don't want to change this 0. We only want to change the second number. And that's exactly what I'm doing over here with the cframe.angles. I'm saying do not change the first number. Do not change the third number. However, for the second number, I want you to add 90 degrees to it. That's basically what we're saying. Now, why did I put a 90 here? Because if I drag this thing and then I move it 90 degrees, it looks like that. So that right there means that the door is open. That's why I put the 90 here. So once again, door pivot to, that means I want you to change the rotation and position of the door. Door get pivot means take whatever the current position and rotation of the door is, and then this time cframe.angle 0 math.rad 90 0 means take that current position and rotation and then add 90 degrees to it. And we're using math.rad because of radians, but I'm not going to get into that. So that's what that means. Change the position and rotation to whatever the position and rotation currently is plus 90 degrees. 90 degrees on the y-axis, because remember that we're not changing the x and z. Okay, let's actually see if it works. So I'm going to go up to the door. I'm going to press E. There you go. It's open. Now, the issue here is that if I press E again, it's going to basically open again. And when I press E again, it's going to open again. And basically, Roblox thinks that we are just opening the door. Look, I'm just running around in circles. But you can see that it's working. Roblox is doing what we told it to do. We basically just told it to rotate 90 degrees. So 90 degrees rotation, 90 degrees rotation, 90 degrees rotation. Now we need to tell Roblox, okay, if the door is open, then I want you to close it. So that's basically what's left. And what we're going to do is we're going to define a new variable called local is open, and we're going to set it to false. So we're saying, okay, the door is not open. And then when that proximity prompt gets triggered, when we press E, we're going to tell Roblox, okay, let's say that it is open now. And what we're going to do is we're actually, before we even tell Roblox, actually, yeah, let's do this. Let's just autocomplete this. So basically, here's how this works. We've told Roblox the door is not open in the beginning. When we press E to trigger it, if the door is already open, then do nothing. And then tell Roblox, okay, the door is open now. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to make it so that we can only press E to open the door one time. Why? Because soon as you press E, it's going to set is open to true. And then the next time you press E, is open is already going to be set to true. And then nothing will happen. So let's try it. I'm going to play, and now I'm going to spam E. So I'm spamming E, and see it's not doing anything. Because we did this thing right here, which basically means if the door is already open, then don't do anything and just return. So don't do anything if the door is open. Now that's great, but what we want to do is we want to basically close the door if it's already open, right? So instead of returning, we're going to say, okay, if the door is already open, then I want you to close it. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the same exact line of code that opens the door, but instead of going 90 degrees, instead of doing this, so right here, remember this is the door being open 90 degrees, I want to close it, which means I want it to go 90 degrees in the other direction. So I want this to go 90 degrees in this direction now. So in the beginning, we went 90 degrees in this direction. Well, there we go, 90. And now I want to go 90 degrees in the opposite direction. So basically, what is the opposite of 90? Well, the opposite of 90 is basically negative 90, right? So that's exactly what I'm going to do here, negative 90. So if the door is open, then go negative 90 in the opposite direction. And now this means that the door is closed. So I'm going to set is open to false. So if the door is already open, close the door and then tell Roblox it's no longer open. And now I'm going to add an else here. Actually, let me do this step by step. Else if not is open, then if the door is not open, so if the door is not open, then that means we want to open it. So that means we want to do this entire thing right here. So let me run this through one more time. The door is initially not open when the player presses E. If the door is already open, then close it and then tell Roblox the door is no longer open. However, in the beginning, the door is not open. So it's not going to do this, it's actually going to do this. So in the beginning, the door is not open, I press E. So if the door is not open, so this is true, the door is no longer open right now because I just started the game, then the door is now open, and then actually open the door. And the next time you press E, the door is already going to be open. So now that the door is already open, this will run. So if the door is already open, then close the door and then tell Roblox it's no longer open. And the next time you do it, guess what? Is open is going to be false, which means it's not open. So now the door is not open, set it to true and open the door. So it's basically going to flip-flop between closing and opening the door. So here we go. Here's the door, press E, I press E and now it's closed. So as you can see, the door is now working. We do have to change this open to close now. So that seems to be the last thing. We just have to make it so that this open will be set to closed. And basically it's pretty simple. We just have to set the proximity prompt's action text to close instead of open. So right now it's set to open. So let's go back into our code. So if the door is not open, then we open the door. So yeah, so if the door is not open, then we open the door, and then the next time we want it to say close. So proximity prompt.action text equals close. So if the door is not already open, then open the door and then set it to close so that the next time you press E, it will close the door. And then we just have to do the opposite thing for if the door is already open. Okay, let's actually see if this works. So here we go. Boom. Okay, now it says closed. Boom. Now it says open. Boom. Now it says close. Close, open, close, open. Boom. And I can spam it 100,000 times and it will work fine. Boom. Now you have a fully functioning door that has opening and closing mechanics. Now, if you guys want to get fancy, we can use linear interpolation. And if you don't understand what that means, I wrote an entire article on it, which you can learn about by clicking the link in the description completely for free. So I'm just going to apply linear interpolation to this. Let's actually make this -1, and then I'm going to test out weight. And then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, and boom. Now we're done. Linear interpolation has been applied. And here you go. Boom. Now we've got linear interpolation working. And there you go. We've got a fully functioning door that even has a animation to it. Oh, there we go. And of course, we can always make this a little bit better by using heartbeat. Unservice.heartbeat wait. And then I'll just take this, I'll just replace it with this, and boom, it's pretty simple. As you can see, now it's even better. We are now using heartbeat, so the actual animation is less choppy. Now, before I end this video, let me actually show you an entire door system that I made, I think last year. Whoop. Oh, I have to get rid of this. Okay, so here's an entire door system that I made. So E, boom. Just like what we made, but this is a more modular version, so this will work with any door. So yeah, if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.